Hi, this is Chuck. Why Not Wander? Today I'm working on my motorhome, a 2000 Pace Arrow Vision window. It used to go, there it goes up. Usually it'll go up if I can get it down, but it doesn't always like to go down. So on eBay I found a universal window switch that looks exactly like this. A little bit of research, a little bit of figuring out. I'm going to wire this in, then hopefully mount a place, find a place to mount it. Maybe up here, maybe down here, somewhere. I want to leave the switch assembly intact here because it also runs my power windows, or the power mirrors, and the heated mirrors. So if I can leave that intact and just, I can't just put it there because all electronics is built into a circuit board, and I'll show you all this. Okay, I've got the screws out of the door panel and the window switch. Everything's ready to come apart. But anyway, the switch assembly on this is a circuit board, switches for the mirrors, the heated mirror, and the window. Now you can see here the window switch is kind of getting wore out. Underneath, it's all a solid printed circuit board with relays, and if I can get this in position, the one relay right in there that runs the window up and down has been overheated, it's been melted. It still works, but only sometimes. My first thought was if I could replace just that relay, but in order to do that I would have to unsolder a lot of stuff, because this window switch, or the heated mirror switch here, comes out this way and the circuit board would have to fold back that way. So I decided it would be easier just to wire in a separate switch. Remove the panel. So then we can see we've got the mirror motor, the window motor right here, which works just fine. I ran a couple jumper wires to it. It takes a hot and a ground. You reverse them, it goes up, it goes down just fine. These are the wires feeding in from the chassis. These feed back out, and some of those others to the power mirrors as well. So I'm going to retain all that and just wire this switch in, and I'll work on the wiring. I've figured out, and I've made myself a little wiring diagram here. I don't know how well that's going to show up, but if I hook A, B, C, and D, E, A, B, C, D, E on the switch, one end to ground, A and B are in neutral position on the switch, are always together, D and E. So if I hook the motor leads to the ends with the ground and the hot, and then we switch back and forth with C to reverse the polarity on the motor, it should work just fine. I found a screw right here that was doing nothing. I'm going to go ahead and make that a dedicated ground for the motor. The two window wires, and I just need to determine what wire is a power wire here, and I'll use what they call a Scotch lock to tap into that and hook up my power. That's one of these. You slip it on a wire, and well, slip it onto two wires actually, the one you want to use and the one you're using for power. Crimp that down, gives it a pretty solid connection. And so I'm going to build some jumper leads for what I need here. I think I can just cut off the ends of the switch here, use those, run a power lead, run a ground lead, wire up the switch, and I'll show you how I'm doing it. Okay, I've got most of my wires built with ends put on them. I snipped the leads from the motor and just put push on terminal ends on there. I also built a ground wire. I grounded it right here to the door frame, but then I also made another separate wire and brought it over to the hinge. So actually it's got a direct body ground as well. Now for the hot wire, I got my 12-volt test light, and with the key on, I've got a hot wire right here, 12 volts. Turn the key on just to double check. Lights the light. That's my feed circuit from the switch, the mirror switch, window switches, and everything else before. I followed that back, and I've already slipped my Scotch lock on there. These are made by Scotch 3M company. They lock wires together, commonly known to my knowledge as a Scotch lock. One side slips over the wire, the other wire slips in the end in the adjacent little slot, so you've got both wires in there. Then just a common pair of pliers that I laid down here someplace. Just pinch that metal piece down in, flip the tab up. Sometimes it locks easily, sometimes I got just a little bit bigger wires here. I wanted to use heavy wire for my hot. Because it was already white coming in, I wired up another white wire to it. So when I go to my switch, I've got red and green for my motor, I've got blacks for my ground, and white is my hot, or 12 volts as it was before. To hook up this switch, I tried to show you before, I've turned things around so I'm working in the sunlight a little bit better. Has 5 terminals. I labeled them A, B, C, D, and E. When the switch is at rest, in the middle position, the 2 end terminals on each end are connected together. When you flip the switch, it disconnects one and connects that one to the center. So I'm going to hook my motor leads to either end. My double ground wire that I built, I will hook to the other terminal on each end. So when the switch is at rest, both of my motor leads are connected to ground and the hot wire is not in play. Now, one thing we want to do is be sure we've got good connections on everything. That may have been a little much. Now it slides on there very tight. So now I've got both my ends connected to ground wires. My motors, and it doesn't matter which one's going to be which, the difference will come in which way I put the switch in for up or down, which at this point is really rather non-particular as well. That one also is a little loose. I just used the terminals I happen to have. They're insulated terminals, so even if anything were to get bent, pushed over, shoved up against anything else, nothing's going to short out. That leaves me just my center, where I'm going to hook my hot wire that I just spliced in, the heavy white. So you can see I've got motor leads are red and green. My hot, or my 12 volt feed, is white, which is as it was before with the factory wiring. Gets a little bit tight here inside this switch where my terminals have to go, but it doesn't work. All right, I got my hole cut in the door panel right here. That switch just slides right down in there. Got some little tabs on the ends that lock it down in there. I just measured and then I filed it to size. So we're ready to start putting things back together. First of all, I grabbed some cable ties. I'm going to put some ties around this wiring, kind of hold it together, keep it sorted out. I got my ground, my 2 motor wires, and my battery hot wire. But I have found it's easier to work on later if you keep things somewhat organized. So lifting our panel back into place, trying to let you kind of see what's happening here a little bit. Show my new window wiring loom, as it were, up through the window switch hole. Then there's plenty of slack in it. We'll be able to orient it the way we want it for up and down. While I was messing with it, I found out it is a lighted switch. It has a little LED in it. Hook the power up to the center terminal, and it's wired with an LED to one of the ground terminals. So at night we should be able to see that switch, which I never really was able to before, but it didn't really matter. It was kind of far back from where I would have really liked to have it anyhow. Let's see, this window cable feed, I'll get it down below. And over our door latch, up into the channel up there, make sure screw holes are lining up. Make sure we've got all our wires fed through, which we seem to be missing a set here. Had to disconnect them from the switch assembly in order to feed it down through that hole before. And it doesn't want to stay there, of course. Must be a little bit difficult, but why would things be any different on this job than on most jobs? So there, we've got them through. Now we'll hook that up to the connector on the circuit board. It has a couple of square holes, so you can't get it on one way. Next to that burnt relay that we have now bypassed with our new wiring program. Set that switch back in there. We've got our door pull cup, goes in right there. Then our switch. Now if you remember, we were putting ground to the two black wires, to not the middle, but the next to the middle, next to the end. So B and D, the way we labeled A, B, C, D. Our white wire was our hot, goes to the center one. C, then our two window wires go to the two ends, A and E. Get those pushed on there. Turn our ignition key on. Make sure it's still operational. Goes up, goes down, goes up, goes down. Just what we wanted it to do. It should last a good long time. Thanks for watching. Like if you think this is useful at all to you. Subscribe to our channel if you would. We'll be posting more videos, RV related, motorcycle related. We also have a boat. We do some fishing, some skiing. Who knows what's going to show up on here. Why not wander?